we got to break down in law and order in this country, Archie? Because we got poverty, real poverty. And you know why we got that? Because guys like you are unwilling to give the black man, the Mexican American, and all the other minorities their just and rightful hard-earned share of the American dream.
Who said he wasn't smart? That's beautiful, Michael, beautiful.
Oh, that's gorgeous. Now, let me tell you something. If your spicks in your space want their rightful share of the American dream, let them get out there and hustle for it just like I did.
Yeah, but Archie, you're forgetting one thing. You didn't have to hustle with a black skin.
No, I didn't have to hustle with one arm and one leg neither. So what?
So you're admitting that the black man is handicapped.
Oh, no more than me. He's just as good as me.
Wait, now I suppose you're going to tell me that the black man has had the same opportunity in this country as you?
More. He's had more. I didn't have no million people out there marching and protesting to get me my job.
No, his uncle got it for him.
Welcome. Happy Tuesday, Rattle Roots fam. My name is Peyron Baxter. This is the Roots Rundown on December 16th. And welcome in. It's been a pretty bumpy the first 2 days, but I'm pretty excited to kind of revamp, regroup. You know, I've got a lot of feedback on the first 2 episodes. I'm really excited to take this thing to the next level for all those to tune in and just want to kind of talk about what's going on in a more bite-sized manner outside of our proper show on Thursdays and on Sundays. And that at the top of the show was Rob Reiner, who we all remember from his storied career. That was his role as Mikey on All in the Family, a show that really held a mirror up to America and its bigotries, its conservative delusion, and how that really didn't make sense even back then, and why progressive voices were always had a moral grounding that many people still to this day do not recognize. Rob Reiner, I'm sure you all have heard at this point, was brutally murdered by him and his wife Michelle were brutally murdered. It seems like by their son, and I think that's kind of like a canary in the coal mine for kind of what's happening with the decline of America and the West writ large, how it happened. How it's been responded to by those in power, and the deluge of just well wishes from people who do have good spirits and good thoughts about the future, and how seeing good people be harmed does cause us harm. So if you guys don't know, Rob Reiner was the son of an actor who was on the Dick Van Dyke Show. I would say Carl Reiner was his father. He was, a writer. He was an actor, got his son into showbiz early. But of course, Rob Reiner came up at a time when, this was post-World War II. So the rise of the Vietnam War. And he had a moral compass. He was Jewish. He knew what it was like to be persecuted. He always had a stake in humanity, and he progressed throughout the years as well. He helped open up the Equal Justice Institute, I believe. He always stood for human rights. He stood for the rights of Black people, Latino people, as you saw in that clip. And according to many people, he actually wrote that clip. So it is sad to hear when someone like a good person, like a Rob Reiner, is harmed and murdered in such a brutal fashion. And of course, people have been running clips of all his interviews over the past few years. He was an outspoken advocate for democracy. He's very anti-Trump. He was Antifa, as you want to call it. He was an Antifa member, anti-fascist. I too am a member of Antifa. What happened to that? I thought they caught the Antifa founder's girlfriend. Do y'all remember that? Kash Patel said they had caught the Antifa co-founder's girlfriend. I don't know. Point being, he was a member of Antifa. You're a member of Antifa. If you're listening to this, I'm a member of Antifa. Welcome in. But yes, we want to pay respect to Rob Reiner. If you don't remember, Rob Reiner actually directed, honestly, just movies across different genres that I think represents the greatness of cinema, right? You got your comedies and romantic with The Princess Bride. You got your drama with A Few Good Men. You have your kind of horror suspense with Misery. And countless other movies, right? So this is it is a loss for not just Hollywood, but dare I say the progressive movement. And his son sounds like someone who was disaffected and fell on hard times. And as we discussed today, what it means to be down in the doldrums and what it means to internalize your anger towards people that you care about and what that means and what that looks like. But of course, to set it off here, we expect the leader of the free world, who of course had a lot to say about the murder of Charlie Kirk and people were losing their jobs. So I'm sure the leader of the free world, Donald John Trump, had something to offer the people, the real people who are reeling after this brutal murder of Rob Reiner. So I'm going to have a page I follow called Facebook Comments read Donald Trump's message that he put out. And if you guys don't follow Facebook Comments, it's a great page on Instagram. He reads these MAGA comments in a way that only he can, but I'm going to let you guys hear it.
Very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling, but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away, together with his wife Michelle, reportedly due to the anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as Trump Derangement Syndrome, sometimes referred to as TDS. He was known to have driven people crazy by his raging obsession of President Donald J. Trump, with his obvious paranoia reaching new heights as the Trump administration surpassed all goals and expectations of greatness, and with the golden age of America upon us, perhaps like never before. May Rob and Michelle rest in peace.
This man is sick. Or I think he's sick on a clinical level, and he's clearly morally bankrupt and sick. He is a sick individual. People were fired for disliking Charlie Kirk after his brutal murder. A man who put hate into the world, a man who stoked racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, who actively advocated for politicians who will take rights away from people, who actively downplayed state-sanctioned murders, said children should witness murders. Rob Reiner, you can't find the clip. That's why, Charlie Kirk's goofy ass wife, Erica Kirk, out here on her bullshit book tour for his book. They can't play any of his actual language. I think that shitty CBS editor-in-chief Barry Weiss asked her about some of the quotes from Charlie Kirk, but didn't really analyze them, just said, what do you think about that? But this is the thing, Rob Reiner, you can play countless clips. If you go to my Facebook or my Instagram, I posted multiple interviews and clips of how he's talking about how we have to come together. And then on top of that, if you had to get a chance, let's see if I can maybe find it here, but if you get a chance, there was how Rob Reiner responded to the murder of Charlie Kirk. The murder of Charlie Kirk. Let's pull it up here real quick here. And it was with grace and dignity and care and compassion, and centered the feelings of his wife, centered the feelings of the children, centered the feelings of people who probably listened to him and cared about what Charlie Kirk's bullshit. And I absolutely vehemently disagree with what Rob Reiner was saying, but that's the person Rob Reiner was. He was one of the people that used his platform privilege and his positioning to make a better way for other people. I can't find it right now. I'm still getting used to this technology. But so Trump's response, I think, is a canary in the coal mine. One, because the way they reacted with Charlie Kirk's murder and the fanfare and the WWE style funeral services and this very cruel, ignorant, self-centered response to the murder of a truly successful person, Rob Reiner, and centering Trump, centering himself. What he's trying to do, and I want us to think about this, folks, he is trying to condition us. He's trying to train our minds to accept violence towards the left. Aaron, that sounds crazy. Why would he try to do? He's not that smart. He did it with Melissa Hortman and her husband. He's doing it with Rob Reiner. He is actively trying to downplay, distract, obfuscate the danger and the violence that happens towards people that either disagree with him or that people or people that he just finds distasteful. And mind you, he's the most distasteful motherfucker on the face of the fucking planet. And this is what he's trying to do. So I want us to be cognizant of this when we're trying to like meet MAGA in the middle. Now, there's been one good thing I will say. There's been a lot of good. There's been a lot of good pushback from the Republican Party. They haven't taken this lying down. Some of these folks have been like, no, sir, this is a bit too far. Now, granted, is it forceful enough for me? No, not at all. But it's something. It is a step in the right direction. But in this moment where we're trying to figure out what a political posture is or have a backbone in politics, it's standing for universal human rights. This is what people, especially Black people, we understand this better than anybody because we were not too long ago, back when my mother was born, she was not considered a full human being. So we understand what it means to not be treated as full people. So we usually, the majority of us, I'm sure you'll find a Candace Owens and a Herschel Walker and a Clarence Thomas, who are like, well, look, Black people do. No, the majority of Black people stand for the universal human rights of everybody. Unfortunately, the majority of white people do not. And Rob Reiner was in the business of trying to change the hearts and minds of white people who do not understand their positioning towards a system of violence and racism. Even back in the 60s and 70s or the 70s with All in the Family. This is what we have to unpack. So rest in peace to Rob Reiner. Rest in peace to his wife, Michelle. I know he has a daughter as well. I don't know how many kids they have. I didn't follow his life that closely, but I did definitely know who he was. When I got the news to my phone, I told my wife, and she wasn't too familiar, but I said, no, you know who he is. You know his work at least. And you know Rob Reiner's work. So rest in peace to Rob. And this is just another moral stain on America, how the president of the United States, who's supposed to, even if in just words and in gestures, represent the best of us, represent a vision of the future that you could tell your kids, like, look at, President so-and-so. And of course, for us as Black people, look at President Obama. Smooth, suave, good looking, well-educated, articulate, it was someone that we could respect. I'm not talking about his actual political legacy and what some of the things that he did, but just him as an individual, right? And then there's a video of him recently of Obama in Chicago. He went to, I think, a kindergarten class or maybe a first grade class with a Santa hat, and he's just talking to the kids. And some of you are like, Payron, why does that matter? Who cares that Obama is talking to, some kids, in a lunchroom? That very much does matter. Showing people that this small things, small people matter, because children are small people. We like to look at them as items, but they're not. They're people. And when Obama did that, it reminds us of a certain level of virtue we need to try to strive for. And Trump and all his voters, yes, all of his voters, want a system where there is not universal human rights. Small people are small things, not small people. And we look at why we react so viscerally or even just gutturally to seeing Obama do that, because we miss it. We miss just having the idea of hope and change. This is one thing I think Trump did get right. Hear me out. Hear me out. He offered people a difference from change. Or he offered people a difference from the status quo, excuse me. Kamala Harris, there's a lot to be written about. Hell, she wrote a book about it, about her campaign, a lot to be desired. But one thing that I think was an extreme misstep, and I remember this because I was the Democratic Party chair at the time, was that she didn't identify a villain for their daily life conditions. What she offered and what the Democrats are unfortunately still doing now is offering, I'm against Trump. And that is where the Democrats and the Never Trump Lincoln Project, Bulwark, Tim Miller style Republicans align. And that is ultimately meaningless to the lives of people. I think of myself, a lot of you guys don't know, I've been laid off. I've been impacted by the layoffs. And it's been hard. It's been hard. You know, looking for jobs, finding jobs, you know, whatever the case may be, it's been difficult. But I also realize that we live in a society that does not value people like me. Whether it comes to political education, whether it comes to anti-racism work, people just want to feel good. So this is why a lot of my friends, and I'm getting not knocking anybody, but a lot of my friends, you know, or people in my groups or people that I just do organizing work with, they don't read books. They don't understand their positionality within systems like Rob Reiner did. They don't try to actively unlearn. They just want to feel good. So I don't let that break me, but it's hard. It's hard. It's hard for so many Americans. And it's something that really radicalized me even more. I mean, radical roots, right? Was that I went to try to go get some vaccines. You know, I've lost my job, so I don't have health care anymore. And we know healthcare costs are going up like crazy next couple of weeks. So I was trying to get my flu shot and my COVID shot. And it was just the sheer, and I'm so used to having insurance and just thinking that they're always free. This is, you know, it's on me, but just hear me out. And I go in there and like the shots together are like $200 some odd. And like just the price, it all crystallized in me the plight of Americans. And I was just pissed. And I just walked out. Not because I'm anti-vaxxer, absolutely will go back and get my shots, but just that moment, I thought about the compounding and overlapping systems of violence that happen to so many us, to so many of us who are vulnerable in this country. So I thought about, like, if I'm homeless, if I'm working at, you know, some job that does not offer me health care or next to nothing, how am I supposed to? I'm not even worth health to this society. How can you have a safe society if you don't vaccinate everybody, or at least give people access to the vaccinations for free? It doesn't even make sense why you charge for a vaccination. Why would you charge for a vaccination? Unless you want a society where people are stupid, sick, angry, and well armed, because those people are malleable. And you deem them to be less than, you deem them to be uh, uh, disposable, you deem them to be interchangeable. And that just really pissed me off. It's pissed me off, man. So I walked out. And well, I wasn't angry at the lady. I mean, it's a system. These are systems we're talking about. I'm not individually mad at any person, but these are the systems we must challenge. And then you see how these things can, again, compound on one another, right? Where it's, you know, you're homeless, you're dirty, you're unclean. Those people don't need to have your attention. This has happened throughout history. My ancestors came here. Oh, those people are unclean and dirty. Okay, but you kept them from water while you kept them captive. You kept them from cleaning themselves. You kept them in the fields. Of course, they're dirty. It happened in Nazi Germany. These Jews are pestilent, vile rats and cockroaches, but they kept them in ghettos and kept them dirty and filthy. And they say, look at the pestilence. Of course there is. You cut off their access to the economy. You cut off their access to healthcare. You cut off their access to the basic necessities. Disease will spread. But then that allows those who feel the urge to have racial hierarchy to say, well, that's why we're on top. We're the clean, righteous ones. The unwashed don't deserve your attention. And we're seeing it now again in Palestine. I don't know if you guys have saw it. It's been flooding in Gaza. And the baby just died a couple of days ago due to hypothermia. And you see the Israelis call them dirty rats, deserve to be exterminated. This is a colonial system. And some of us are advocating for it. And the last point I'll make, on Rob Reiner. Check out this video. I believe her name is, let me get her name here real quick and play this last video. But her name, she always talks about how these things interlap. Her name is, give me 1 second here. Mel Hamlet on Instagram. I'm gonna play this clip for him. Just play a few seconds of it because we're running short on time here. And I have one more video to get to. So, but check this out.
One of the reasons why I talk about male violence so much is because these family annihilators are not just taking out their wives and children, they're taking out their parents. They're taking out their parents too. This is why I tell you, do not let your sons move back in with you. And this is also why fork Scott Galloway. Scott Galloway's advice for men and their crisis is to give them more resources and to go out and drink more and, you know, hit on women more and get laid and all that crap to deal with male violence. I don't even have an epidemic because men have been doing this for forever. But now that they're lonely because they're doing this, we're supposed to prioritize that over our own safety.
Okay. So Mel's spot on there. If you guys don't follow her, please follow her, Mel Hamlet on Instagram. But this is the epidemic that we're supposed to be so concerned with, male loneliness, as if women don't get lonely. But in reality, it's that we have to deal with toxic masculinity, because I do believe that's how we got to, honestly, unfortunately, how Rob Reiner was killed and how we got Donald Trump again. There is a group of men that feel entitled because they were told this country was built by men and men only, and men and white men specifically, and how that's tied into whiteness, the myth of whiteness. And you get this idea where you can just kill anybody. And the phrase that she let off with family annihilators, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this phrase. It is a title almost damn near specifically labeled for white men, usually between the ages of 30 something to about maybe late 40s. And these are people that murder their entire family and themselves. It's a scourge in white America. You haven't heard of this probably, or if you have heard of it, you think it's just a one-off. It happens frequently. But that's what happens in a white supremacist society. You are not exposed to what's happening to the overculture, because the overculture should be equivalent to innocence, to strength, to progress, to the things you want. You would never want to be a part of a group of people that murder their own family. You would never want to be a part of that. You would never want to be a part of a group of people that, according to the Equal Justice Initiative down in Mississippi, committed from 1890 to 1930 almost 4,000 lynchings. And if you spread those out and average them out per day, that's 2 lynchings per day. You wouldn't want to be a part of that group of people. You wouldn't want to be a part of that group of people that actively tells its men that the best thing they can do is put a woman in her place and to run away from anything that is close to feminine. This is why, I think these people, these men, these Nick Fuentes, these incels, these patriarchs, if they just went to therapy, none of us would be here. We wouldn't have a Donald Trump, but Donald Trump offers, because don't forget, the right wing is a white supremacist, chauvinistic death cult. Even the white women that overwhelmingly vote for them believe that men are their superior. They may not say it explicitly. Perron, my wife doesn't say that I'm better than her. I'm a Republican. No, and yes, but they don't believe women should be in leadership. They believe that their vote should be taken away. They believe they shouldn't have autonomy. It's about control, because their husbands are submissive. Their husbands want one man, centralized power to lead them. Lead me, daddy. This is why they have an idea of humanity through domination, right? The reason these people, you better live like I live and love like I love and listen to music I listen to. No Bad Bunny Super Bowl, better be George Strait. Damn, Skippy. Because They're used to being dominated. They like it. Give me some more, daddy. This is why you see all these closeted people are from the Republican Party. It's a closeted, emasculated, weak ideology. Weak ideology. This is how you get a Trump. Trump and Pete Hegseth and the countless people that have been arrested or charged with sexual deviancy, Matt Gaetz. These are all a bunch of people who are sexually repressed. All of them. All of them. You have to get that through your head. And instead of sitting there trying to see from where they're coming from, listen to people who survived them. Black people, indigenous people, Latino people, immigrant communities. They have fought for universal human rights. These people do not stand for freedom. They want the freedom to oppress you. They want the freedom to dominate their wives, dominate their children. Going back to the children earlier with Barack Obama, these are not my children. These are my little things. That's why I attach my fatherhood, my masculinity to my children. If my children are gay, that is an indictment on me as a man, because a man would never raise a gay child. Instead of saying as a father, I love my child. I love my child. I don't care who they are, what they want to be, what they want to do. And if we had a masculinity that was rooted in truly supporting one another and protecting women, and we say protecting women is protecting them from harm, from systemic harm, protecting them from misdiagnoses, protecting them from men, we would do the work, not just have these loose ass barbershop ass conversations like, oh, these hoes ain't nothing, dog. She doing that. They gold diggers. Hold on, they gold diggers, but you ain't got no money. So what gold you got? You got plastic in your pockets. They plastic diggers? Don't make no sense. We need to have a masculinity that is rooted in uplifting people, educating people, caring for people. And sometimes it can seem like we're being harmful by just trying to reach out to those types of people because their whole identity is whatever they've deemed feminine. This phrase called the man box, and the man box every year gets smaller and smaller. This is why we get to a point where having sex with a woman is gay, according to Nick Fuentes, and he's now a luminary on the right wing. These people have so bastardized and stigmatized anything that they've deemed feminine to be not worth their time. They have such a very narrow understanding of what masculinity is that they're embarrassingly weak. Again, the right wing, the entire organization is weak. They need to have the flags and the this and the guns because if you didn't have all that, who are you? What is your culture? What is your vision of the future? Why do you want that? We got to replace the babies okay, hold on, wait a second. Replace the babies. Whose babies? White babies. Okay, well, why aren't white women having kids? Okay, it's expensive to have a kid. Okay, you don't want to deal with the cost or you deal with wage increases. Okay, because you're in the pockets of corporations. Okay, it's expensive to have a child. Okay, you don't want to give universal health care because that would give it to the Negroes. Absolutely not. I'm out. And a nationalistic view has to inherently be exclusionary to other people. So we can't have, this is why it's white nationalists. There's black nationalists, but it doesn't really matter in this country because this is a white supremacist country. But it has to be exclusionary. And the exact minute you say, I'm going to give something to these people, they're like, I can't do it. That's why it's weak. All these people want a singular man to run the show for them. And so next time you see the MAGA, they always got those shirts with the American flag on the sleeve, the short sleeve. You know what I'm talking about. Like a backwards American flag. And so these are the weakest men possible. They don't uplift anything. They don't try to learn. They don't try to unlearn. They don't try to help people. They don't challenge themselves. They don't grow. And Donald Trump is a manifestation of that, but not just him. A couple weeks ago or a week ago, I'm sure we all heard about the Diddy documentary. The Diddy documentary was a damn mess. He's a fucking monster. I think we're all in agreement with that. Diddy is a piece of shit, and honestly, keep that nigga where he at. But yeah, I mean, but you see how it's a system of how capitalism itself requires us to devalue women, children, people who are poor, people who are vulnerable. And basically they say Diddy took the same playbook that they used to do to black people, black singers and songwriters in the 60s that were done by white men. And he just took that playbook himself and did it to his own people. And it's very apparent in this documentary because so many people like, that dude owe me money, and whatever happens to him, what deserves to happen to him. But he felt like that he has to do what? He didn't have a, they talked about in the documentary, he didn't have a dad. So he felt like he always had to perform Puff Daddy, right? The daddy, the sky daddy is invulnerable. You know, he's invulnerable. He's impenetrable. You can't touch him. He can do whatever he wants to you, just like the God the white Christian nationalists believe in. He can do whatever he wants to you, and you will thank him for it. Just like that member of, what was it, Dirty Money. And she was there like, you know, I'm down with Puff. Still in the documentary. She needed $5,000 for a custody battle. Diddy's a multi-millionaire, damn near a billionaire, supposedly. Wouldn't give it to her. She's still down with him. This we're talking about how women internalize patriarchy. So again, that's how we get a Diddy. That's how we start to respect a motherfucker like Diddy, a piece of shit like Diddy, a talentless hack, a parasite. That's what all these people are. Elon Musk, Donald Trump, Diddy, Bezos, Zuckerberg, Thiel, Sachs, Gates. Don't forget Bill Gates, you know, up in where I'm from, Northeast, he had this pilot program for education. And then, you know, they brought in all these consultants groups, and the Rand Corporation came in years later and he said, well, how did I do? No, he actually fucking failed. Because billionaires are inherently immoral. There are no good billionaires. Not a single one. Because for them to make those billions, they had to exploit. They had to lobby the governments where our money does not go back to our communities, but goes to them. And all those Republican people there, I'm a constitutional, I'm a second, First Amendment. That's what I tell you about that, brother. These people are all stupid, smooth brain shills for the parasite class. And they don't realize it. This is why they love Elon Musk. They think, and whiteness offers them this idea that they're all just temporarily embarrassed billionaires. Yes, I work at the Piggly Wiggly, but if I just gotta hit one more scratch off, one more lotto ticket, and I'm good. And then in a smaller case, just to really put a fine point on it, then we'll head out of here, folks, is there's this case that is going around. And I want to just talk about it, and then we'll head out of here. The artist, Jason Derulo, I don't know if you guys know, Jason Derulo, not a good singer, was involved in some sexual assault cases from a woman on his team. Two of them had been dismissed. And he got interviewed, I believe, by CBS about this. And the response I thought was shocking to me. I saw it independently, and I saw a lot of people start talking about, okay, so I'm not crazy. So let's listen to Jason Derulo here, and then we'll talk about how the train of toxic patriarchy, again, it permeates all cultures, but it still serves the 1%, which is not us, people of color. But you will see people that will sing, dance, have ignorance, replete with ignorance, be the main ones propagating this shit. But check this out. We'll talk about it on the other side.
A lawsuit not too long ago by an artist that was like hired to your label that was dismissed
twice.
What did you learn going through that?
Never work with women.
Oh, come on.
There's truth in every joke, but it's a sad truth. Like, I will never be alone in a room with a woman that I work with, like ever again.
Why?
It's too risky. That case was dismissed twice in two different states. And there's hardly no mention of it online. When that case was brought up, it was on every single blog, every single front page.
All right, fuck him. So, I mean, I don't really care. I mean, I can watch the rest of it. He doesn't give much more context or make his case any more strong. But the part that stood out to me, which I'm sure stood out to you, was that I will not be in a room alone with a woman ever again. This is the weakness of patriarchy. It cannot, just like white supremacy, which again, patriarchy is a downstream tributary from white supremacy. All these hierarchical ideologies cannot take any sort of accountability, responsibility. So what he's saying is, I will not be in a room with a woman by myself. Now that's ridiculous. Now, I'm not Mr. Perfect. I'll do an episode about my past, but I absolutely was a patriarch. I absolutely was a sexist. I used to be a woman abuser, a womanizer. I used to be a cheater. I cheat on every single woman I've been with. Every single one, including my current wife back in the day. But I'm saying this to let you guys know that you have to acknowledge it to be better. That shit he pulled right fucking there is the weakness of patriarchy. Oh no, I will never be in a room again with a woman by myself. What are you fucking talking about? Maybe don't create the conditions in the environment where someone feels uncomfortable, or someone feels like you're trying to take advantage of them. Maybe, just maybe, just maybe. And then when he says, I don't see myself working with women again, what I hear is what patriarchs and white supremacists and people believe in the hierarchy of society, when they miss out, when they say this, like, oh, I'm scared with black people, I can't say anything, I gotta walk on eggshells. What they're saying is, I'm not going to hire women anymore. I'm not going to hire black people. I'm not going to hire queer people. I don't want to say the wrong thing. What they're saying is, I only want to be around men. Or if there is a woman around, she knows her position. She knows I will abuse her. She knows I will take advantage of her. She knows that I will exploit her. She will do whatever I want her to do. That's what he says. That's what he means by that. And until, again, like I said earlier, until we have a patriarchy, a masculinity that is rooted in not in dominance, but rather in uplifting and using our strength to pull people up and to defend the vulnerable from the powerful. And we start having a conversation amongst men about how we need to do better, how we need to care more, how we need to love ourselves more, how masculinity can be performed countless ways. So people are like, oh, a man's man is what? Donald Trump? A man's man is what? Diddy? A man's man is what? I think of men like Nelson Mandela. Was he a man? James Baldwin. He was gay. Was he a man? You don't have to have a bunch of big muscles, stupid, to be a man. Masculinity is whatever you want it to be. We all have masculine and feminine energy. I think masculinity is being able to have all your tenderest parts exposed and still be confident to walk in the world. Still love yourself, still love other people. And it took me a long time to get there. Guys, if you guys knew me from in college, this was not Payron back then. If you knew me from when I first graduated, started working, this was not me back then, to be fair. But once I started to realize that racism was tied to sexism, which is tied to homophobia, which is tied to misogyny, which is tied to xenophobia. I mean, these are to Christianity. And it's all under the umbrella of white supremacy. I made it my raison d'etre to try to dismantle that. So, folks, thank you. This episode, I think, was just a little more emotional, fluid. And we're going to try to keep doing these every, it's not going to be weekly, but it'll be every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. That's my daughter's daycare. But yeah, thank you all for tuning into the Roots Rundown. We're going to keep trying to keep getting better. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I know I got some graphics here. I still learning how to do all this stuff. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the Radical Roots podcast. I think there we go. Look at that. Got something. I'm learning, folks. Give your boy a little bit of back pats. Yeah, but we're trying to keep this thing going. This is how we stay independent. We have a potential for a sponsor coming up, and we're doing this for you. And again, I don't read all these books just so I read books. I read books because what's the point of having information if it's just stuck in my brain? So thank you all. I hope you all have a great week. I will see you all Thursday morning, 11 o'clock sharp. Please like, share, subscribe, tell folks about this. This is how we grow. Let's grow this community, folks.